47 has begun. I repeat, 47 has begun. You've been watching this all day. You know that. It is a party for some, anxious worries for others. And for most people in the world, they're just getting on with their lives. Somebody, though, who sacrificed himself, Brian Wilson, out there for us. God bless you, Brian. I saw a picture of you guys standing in the middle road last night. It looks a little chilly out there.
This morning, although I think it was technically colder in Nashville this morning when we compared temperatures, but cold enough here that everything moved inside. Now, what is happening since the ceremony is over inside the rotunda? The current president of the United States, got to keep all these presidents straight. The current president of the United States, Donald Trump, and his family have now moved outside to the exterior, the other side of the Capitol. There's one of the helicopters that serves as Marine One when the president is on it, is there, and it will serve to take Joe Biden and Jill Biden all the way out to Joint Base Andrews, where they will get a final ride home on what they would normally call Air Force One, but it's not Air Force One unless the current president is aboard it. So it'll just be another Air Force flight returning Joe Biden, I guess, to Delaware or wherever he wants to go on his last leg after getting a dressing down there in the rotunda by the incoming president.
Yeah, he definitely got a dressing down. There's no doubt about that.
There's no doubt about that.
I mean, it was one of those things. There weren't even subtle shots. I mean, he came out and just shot after shot after shot. So from here, Trump heads over to the Capital One Center. And now
Well, he's got a luncheon first. He'll do a luncheon, and then he'll move over. So the way things are going, I'm not expecting him to get to Capital One Center until about 2 o'clock East Coast time, 1 o'clock your time.
Okay.
But that's going to be quite the event as well. And by the way, the great news is the Stewart's Creek High School Band will get to perform before Donald Trump at the Capital One Arena.
Oh, that's cool. I was trying to figure out, okay, so who's going to be in there? Who gets allowed to get inside of there? Because obviously the parade and stuff and everybody got tickets. How do you figure out who even gets in that place?
It's hard to figure that out, but you had to know people, let's put it that way, to get into that arena. I noticed that yesterday they had a line that was several blocks long. Today it seemed like you got in through an admission of some kind, a ticket, some kind of pass that was sent to you by email. I don't know exactly how it all works, but there are a lot of people wondering, how do you get in over there? And a lot of people don't seem to have the answer to that.
How was what was the sense of what the crowd would have been? Because Bell and I were talking before, everybody's going to if he did this because he didn't want people to see how big the crowd was. If he would have done it outside, people would have been mad at him because it was too cold and people would have got sick. I mean, it was a no-win situation. But, would you have even been able to see any of this because of how much fencing and stuff was around there?
Yeah, what's really interesting is they have all this fencing off that took the mall and just sort of fenced it in from the west front of the Capitol, looking down the mall. It was fenced in for blocks and blocks and blocks and blocks. And then they just put up signs yesterday that said, "Stay out."
Well, there you go.
Yeah, I wonder how much of this was a security concern and how much of it was a weather concern. Was it cold? Yes. Is it also true that by moving all this indoors, they made it a more secure event? Absolutely, no doubt about that. They claim it's all about the weather, but it is interesting to note that there have been some real concerns here leading up about drones and everything else, and so but they decided apparently to move it indoors. They say because of the weather, but it is also true it was a more event because they have done that. Also, eliminating a 16-block parade and moving it into arena makes it much easier for them to manage that as well.
I heard the guys earlier today saying, well, I think it was because of security, this, that, and the other. The way I look at this is, if you're worried about security today, what's going to change tomorrow? Because Trump is not going to stop being Trump. He's still going to go out on the road. He's still going to do his things. So I feel like it probably was a bit of the weather. You have to remember, he's not a spring chicken. Yep. There's things you take cautions with, and he's not a spring chicken. And if they were worried even a little bit, yeah, I could see how they would move it in. But that being said, You know, I mean, it's freezing out there. I saw you guys standing in the road. There's snow.
It was cold. It was cold. Joe Biden is now aboard the helicopter.
Yep.
Donald Trump now walking back toward the Capitol. Well, he will attend a dinner in his or luncheon, I guess, in his honor. And the transition of power is complete. And so long, Joe. He gets one final trip over the city of Washington, D.C., one more flyby of the White House before he goes on out to Joint Base Andrews.
So he goes in today to Capital One eventually after his lunch. I wonder what he's having for lunch. You know him. He's like, everybody gets McDonald's.
Probably. Big Macs for everybody, Brian. So he goes and does that today. Then he goes and signs. What's the thing you're looking forward to the most as far as the signature? You know, as far as these, because remember, some are executive orders, some are executive actions. There are difference between the two. What do you think is?
As I understand it,
oh my God, did we lose Brian? Oh, killed Brian. Who did that? This is it. This is how it starts.
Yeah.
Bill.
You there, Brian?
We lost Brian.
Hello, are you still there?
Yeah, there we go. Brian's back, ladies and gentlemen.
Am I back? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So we're talking about the executive orders. I think we lost him again. We'll come back.
Yeah, can you still hear me now?
Yeah,
Am I all right?
Yeah, there you go. Can you hear me now? All right, we're good. Anybody? Hello? Bill? Anyone? Well, let's come back to Brian a little bit. Again, interesting. And we were talking earlier. We'll get to Brian here in a little bit. He's out there doing his thing, and thank God for that. He busted his butt. He went out there, thanks to Busy Bee, took him out there, and it's been great listening to him. Having somebody there, I mean, that to me is amazing because I see a lot of people who do this for a living and stations, and they don't have anybody there, and Brian being there is awesome.
You forgot the most important question, man.
Which is?
Ask him how retirement's going.
Oh, yeah, should have.
Seems to be working out really well for them.
Did Joe ask you?
Still working.
Did Joe come to you and go, Brian, what do you do during the day? What's going on? What do you do? I'm excited. Again, and I'll say this. I'm not a pomp and circumstance guy. I'm not flashy. I've never been flashy. I don't care much for a lot of stuff. Like, I'm not a car guy. I don't care about any of that stuff. It's never been my jam. And today was, it was interesting to watch a bit of it. And I try to tell people, we do this as much as it's pomp and circumstance and stuff that we've done in the past, also for the rest of the world, to show that we pass ourselves the baton, which I think is great. All right, Brian's back. All right, Brian, so let's talk about some of those executive orders and actions today that he's going to sign.
Yeah, I'm sorry that we lost you there. You know what happens is that sometimes when there are presidential movements, they will interrupt the cell phones for short periods of times, and a lot of my ability to speak to you comes through cell phone technology, so I apologize for that.
All good, brother.
So the helicopter's about to leave now. Executive orders, executive actions. As I understand it, an executive order may contain as many as a dozen executive actions.
Yeah.
So there are executive orders, and within an executive order could be many executive actions. By some counts, and I have not heard the official count yet, there could be as many as 200 executive actions, somewhere around 100 executive orders.
Man, this is going to be very interesting. Watching people freak out is mostly my entertainment today. Is going to be the left's head spinning. He talked about the DEI stuff, and I just know their heads are all spinning. But there is some serious stuff that he's got to do, and I think the easiest, low-hanging fruit of everything is going to be immigration.
Yeah, I think you're right, and that's going to be the big one. And he can make a big change on day one simply by undoing the things that Joe Biden did by issuing his own executive orders when he became president. The big Sikorsky helicopter now flying past the Capitol Dome. Joe Biden going to get one more aerial tour of Washington before heading out to Joint Base Andrews for his final flight back home.
Think about Biden for a second. Was it 50 years he's been in politics? Imagine how much he's seen D.C. change over those years.
Yeah, amazing. He has had a lot of years in, and he became a congressman and then a senator at a very young age. But he has seen a lot of things come and go.
I think most people look back at Joe Biden and they come back with one conclusion, and that is he lingered on the stage too long.
Oh, absolutely. He reminds me of an athlete that you'd rather go a year early than a year late.
Yeah. Don't stay out there too long because people will have not the right memory of you. Is the one way you want to look at that. But he is. I'm trying to figure out if I can get this other thing back up now or not. Yes, I should be back up on the other channel now. So.
Okay, let's see here. Bell's pushing buttons like he's flying. So if you guys know, we have Brian out there right now, and he is dealing with all of.
All right, here we go.
Oh, here we go. We're back, brother. So this is. We got 47 in here. First of all, the reality of our modern world going from 45 to 46, then back to 45, essentially to 47. This hasn't been done in forever and a day.
No, it is an unusual way. And once you leave the office, it's very rare for you to come back, and unless consecutive terms are, of course, a very common thing. But to have that gap in there is almost unheard of. It has happened. I can't remember. Right off the top of my head, the last I can't remember which one it was.
One of the two?
Cleveland.
One of the two.
Cleveland. Maybe it was Cleveland.
Maybe it was Cleveland. But one way or the other, it is a rare thing. And I think the thing that I keep looking at is everything that they came at him with. The lawfare, the assassination attempts. I mean, he just was able to work his way through all of that. And I think if you had, about a year and a half ago, if you just said, is Donald Trump, has he got a real chance here? A lot of people might have said no, but he just kept his head down, kept doing the work, and was able to absolutely, just devastate his opponents in this last election. It's history in so many different levels, so many different ways.
Absolutely. Brian Wilson there with us. We're going to talk to you in a little bit, man. Let you relax, take a deep breath, because I know you've been doing a lot of stuff, and we'll talk to you coming up in a little bit.
All right, we'll catch you in a bit.
Brian Wilson right there, out there in D.C. He's watching everything happen. Just watched the helicopter take off. Now, Trump's going to go eat lunch, and then the party's going to begin at the Capital One Center. He's got to have something up his sleeve, right? Like once he moved inside, there had to be, all right, like, here's the deal. We're going to get cameras. We're going to do this. There's got to be explosions, right? There's got to be fireworks. You can't he doesn't do anything half-assed. You guys know that. So we'll see what happens. A lot of stuff to get to today. More on what's going on there. How's the rest of the world taking it? Some exciting, some not excited about this. Talk about that as well. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there, use my code Chad. Now, what is Rough Greens? Rough Greens is a powdered supplement for your dog and your cat. Dog food, cat food, dead food, essentially. It's meant to live on a shelf. That's what it's meant to do, and it's meant to be shelf stable. This is going to help those, whether it's Meow Greens for your cat or Rough Greens for your dog. It's going to help bring that food to life. It's going to bring out the nutrients and stuff that are stuck in there. It's just going to make your cat and dog's food so much more healthy, and it's going to add things they don't have. They're going to get vitamins, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9. They're going to get fruits and vegetables, things that are healthy for you, and you watch what happens. If your dog or cat struggles with lethargy, maybe they got issues with skin and fur, digestive tract, whatever it is, you watch what happens. This is going to help them tremendously. Now, they're going to let you try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. It is a $20 value. You get it absolutely free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. Go to ruffgreens.com, ruffgreens.com. Use my code Chad. You cover the cost of shipping. You get it for free. Ruffgreens.com. Use code Chad.
All right, drivers, Kingston Springs, overturned vehicle blocking the left lane. Going to be 40 eastbound between exit 188 and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. That's a 16-minute delay there. We've got a full report on the inauguration of Donald Trump. California wildfires could explode again tonight. And a man in Nashville allegedly had sex with a 13-year-old girl who went missing from East Tennessee. Tell you where they found her coming up at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
As our victory showed, the entire nation is rapidly unifying behind our agenda with dramatic increases in support from virtually every element of our society, young and old, men and women, African Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, urban, suburban, rural.
Yeah, a lot of people are. They were ready for a change, and they've got it. And I will tell you, now it's on you. This is what you wanted. This is what pressure is all about. And he thrives in this. And I think he is going to thrive in this. There are things that are absolute must. And we were talking before I took over, Chris and I and Brian on the crossover, about, you know, a lot of people want to know, okay, what happened in 2020? What happened with this? What happened with that? That'll come out in the wash. The focus, though, is let's get the country rocking and rolling. Let's get immigration done. Let's fix the mess that's there. Let's get these bad people that are here out of here. Let's do these things day one, which you can do, which you'll do later on today. Then, again, what's going on in the Middle East and Ukraine, the amount of money, but on top of that, the amount of lives that are being lost throughout these things. Let's tackle the things you can tackle and get ahead of those things. Those things matter. Everything else will come out when it comes out. But hyper-focusing on some of these things is not what anybody should be doing. Because people put you there for a reason. And the reason was they were sick and tired of seeing their wages go up a little bit and inflation outpace them. They were sick and tired of looking around going, how many people are here? How many people are using our services? Using our schools? Using our system against us? Looking around going, how much money have we given Ukraine? Even though we don't really give it to them, we give it to ourselves in a weird way. We pay ourselves, then give them our old crap and build new crap. People are looking at those things, and that's what they want. People who are hardcore into politics, like a lot of you guys out there, yeah, you want to know, what did they weaponize? Did they lie? Which is understandable. But when you win and you focus on the win, the other stuff will pop out. And I think that's going to happen. But the focus needs to be moving forward. Absolutely must, moving forward. And he's got the opportunity to do that in a way that not many presidents get.
Today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair.
And it's not just us. I was reading a great article today. 7 in 10 people globally think the media lies to them, that the government lies to them, and that businesses lie to them. 7 in 10. So 70% of the globe thinks they have zero trust in the powers that be. And part of doing what he's going to be doing over time, because that doesn't come overnight. Right? That's the thing. You have to build trust again. Trust is a hard thing to maintain. It takes a while to build back up, but it is easy to lose. So you focus on the things you need to focus on. And I think that's what he's going to do. No doubt about that. And again, when you go and look at this, he's got this opportunity that very few presidents get, where you've got a mini mandate, you know? I mean, it's going to be struggle at times, I think, in the House, because it's so razor thin and you have a few people that will, but I think the Senate is there, and I think he's going to surprise some people. He's going to get some people. I saw Fetterman there today wearing his hoodie and his shorts as he went there, and I think he's going to surprise some people and get some senators on his side in certain things. I think he's going to surprise some people for sure.
From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer.
Which is great. I love what he said about Panama. We gave it to Panama. We didn't give it to China, which is smart. And this is the battle that's going to go on. And one of the other things, Trump had foreign dignitaries there. That doesn't happen. It's like a first. He had people who were leaders from other countries there that he invited, and they showed up, which I think is fantastic because I think he wants to show the world this is who we are. We are what Reagan and everybody said we are. We're that beacon on the hill. We're the example to everybody else, not just to West, to everyone. And we're back. And back we are. Number 47, who was once 45. Then he was gone, but now he's back. Oh, my Lord. We got Brian out there. We'll talk to him in a little bit, find out what's going on, find out what the hubbub is going to be in a few hours because he's going to be signing paperwork in front of an audience, which is kind of a weird thing to say. How was your time in D.C.? Great. I went and watched a guy sign some paperwork at an arena.
You ever wonder when you get that job if you have to fill out a W-2?
I would assume yes.
Isn't that weird to think about, though? You're the president, but you got to sign a W-2.
You got to sign a W-2. I would assume yes. I would assume other people take care of that stuff for you, though. A lot more to get to. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and it looks like we might be in the deep freeze for an extended period of time. I'll tell you about it during the full forecast in 5 minutes.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Brian Clark. President Donald Trump, in his inaugural address, says brighter days are ahead for America.
From this moment on, America's decline is over.
Sworn in as the 47th president inside the Capitol Rotunda, capping his political comeback, Trump said he and Vice President J.D. Vance received a mandate. He pledged long-term goals like planting the U.S. flag on Mars, but also short-term initiatives.
A short time from now, we are going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America.
He also talked about the Panama Canal.
China is operating the Panama Canal, and we didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back.
President Biden, in his final minutes in office, pardoned his family members and their spouses, not saying what the pardons could be for.
President Trump will be dealing with the ongoing wildfire disaster in Los Angeles. Alex Stowe says another PDS red flag warning has been issued.
Dire warnings are being given here for the winds that will blow tonight into Tuesday. James White at the National Weather Service.
We could see gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour.
They're expected to be widespread and extremely dry. The relative humidity down to 2%. People across Southern California are being told to have go bags ready in case of wildfires.
Right now in Tennessee, 2 missing East Tennessee girls ages 12 and 13 have been located with a 21-year-old man at his home in Nashville, where Metro Nashville police say they arrested 21-year-old Isaac Shellsmith, who had allegedly driven the girls to his home here in Nashville, then allegedly had sex with the 13-year-old, whom he had been communicating with over social media. Shellsmith bond set at $75,000 on charges including statutory rape. The girls have been reunited with their families. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The party is on in D.C. Started this weekend. It's continuing now. Trump headed to a luncheon, then off he heads to the big signing day. Brian Wilson is there, thanks to Busy Bee, and so is John Rose as well, if I'm correct, right, Brian?
Well, that's right. I am right now. We're in the middle of a big sort of hospitality suite that Congressman Rose has set up for Tennesseans who came to watch the inaugural. And at the last minute, they were going to be outside witnessing it, and then that all got taken away. So they set up these hospitality suites, and he's here with me now, along with, I'd say, a room full of Middle Tennesseans.
That's right. It's great to have all of these folks from back in Tennessee here to enjoy an auspicious day, a memorable day for America, restoring the greatness, beginning the process of restoring this country.
Now, you were one of few people who actually had to get into the rotunda to witness this whole event. So tell me a little bit about what that was like, eyes on.
Well, just an inspiring moment. I mean, I think no matter what your views are, a moment like that that's part of American history with all of the leaders of the country assembled is something that you kind of have to pinch yourself and say, yes, I'm really here.
And he didn't pull any punches in his speech afterwards. He really laid it to the Biden administration, didn't he?
He did not. As one of my colleagues said, if Biden understands what's being said, he's got to be churning inside.
And he's already at Joint Base Andrews and get ready to fly home. And now Donald Trump is the 47th president. We understand that by the time, it's 3 o'clock rolls around, that hundreds of executive orders will be signed.
I think that's right. And we know, and of course the president has telegraphed both in the campaign and in recent days, all of the initiatives that he's going to be pursuing, getting our border under control, opening up American energy to hopefully get runaway prices under control, and just restoring the greatness of America and restoring America's stature around the world.
Well, I want to say a personal thanks to letting us have not just a space in his office. His actual office is where I've been broadcasting from. I basically ran the congressman out of his own office today, but he's very gracious, and thank you so much for your hospitality.
Thank you, and it's our great pleasure to help you, Brian, and to help WTN and get the word back to the people in Tennessee.
I think people are pretty excited about what they heard today. Congressman, thank you so much. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So there's Congressman John Rose, and as you hear a cacophony of noise in the background, a bunch of Middle Tennesseans are here to sort of watch it on TV because they couldn't see it in person.
Yeah, how many? I wonder how many people actually travel there, because I was just reading an article earlier about a guy who basically did everything he could. He traveled almost 3,000 miles from Seattle to get out there, only to be completely left out and just in the cold, literally watching it on his iPad, and a little frustrated.
Yeah, it was frustrating to a lot of people. I mean, I'll tell you, the person who came along there is my wife, Dawn, Cabana wife. She was going to be out there watching it firsthand, and then, she got the same news that a lot of other people got. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. We think it's going to be too cold. And I don't know where you are on the whole. Is it really about the weather thing? I haven't.
Oh, we lose him again. I'm telling you, they're jamming the stuff out there, guys. If you guys don't know. So Brian's out there, John Rose's office, and whenever they do certain things and whenever they move, sometimes they jam certain stuff. And as Brian was explaining to us earlier, when they do that, we lose his connection, and then sometimes he calls back when he has a chance. And we're going to be with him throughout the rest of the day. This is exciting for a lot of people. And for me, like I said earlier, I'm not a pomp and circumstance guy. This is the opportunity now to go and win, and I think he's got that. I think he's got a mandate. And the one thing that it talked about a little bit is when Trump came in the office the first time, nobody's ever prepared for it, right? It's like you don't understand the magnitude of the job as well as all the other trappings that come with it. And the magnitude of the job is so huge of what you're doing, because you are essentially the most powerful man on the planet. But on top of that, what comes with it? You're bringing with you 10,000 people essentially to work, getting people appointed, getting people through, not knowing what's going on there. The swamp is the swamp. It is dangerous for politicians, and you got to watch your step. And Trump has such a better feel of what is going on now comparatively to 8 years ago. He gets it now. He's in a much better place to hit the ground running. And he also understands now the media is who the media is. They're not going to change. Because if you guys remember, you go back, 8, 10 years, Trump was on Morning Joe all the time. MSNBCs of the world, the CNN, they gave Trump so much free publicity. And then when it was, the realization was that he was going to be it, they started to slowly turn, and then it exploded from there. So he gets it now, and he's ready to roll. And I think he's going to hit the ground because I think it's like Mike Tyson used to say, everybody's got a plan until you get punched. And I think for Trump, the plan originally when he came into the first time was, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And you find out, as every president does, you don't have the power you think you do. And everybody there is in it for themselves. I've always said this. Politicians, personal first, party second, people third. Whatever's left will trickle down to you. And that is evident in many, many ways. And I think Trump gets, okay, this is what I'm working with now. But I also think he's got more of a buy-in than ever before. He's got people that are on his side in a way that they haven't been before, and he understands the magnitude. Even yesterday, for all the talk about, like we joked on Friday somewhat about the big news was TikTok. It was absolutely TikTok. Why is that? Because there has never been anything in our world as influential as far as social media goes as TikTok. Nothing. It is in a different class. How fast stuff can spread, how things can go from nothing one day to something the next. And he realized what social media has done for him. I will say, am I thrilled? I was never worried about the backdoor Trojan in, because the reality is Trojan, how many things do we have that are Chinese? We're not getting rid of the Temu app. We're not getting rid of a lot of the apps that we have that all could have backdoors into our country. It was the way that social media could be used to absolutely separate us, to push us in a different way, and to be pro-Palestine and anti-Israel, to be anti-Semitic at times, and to be, anti-American. That's always been a bigger issue. But Trump also realized it helped him. And if you go back to the first time he ran, I wholeheartedly believe this. Without Twitter, I don't think Trump wins last time, because Twitter gave him something, first of all, that the media couldn't stand, because he didn't need the media to reach you. He didn't need the media to reach anybody the way that everybody else had in the past. They were easily reachable just by what he did and his tweets, and then it would cause a stir, which kept him in basically front of mind for everybody. So yesterday, him doing, them coming out and saying, hey, yeah, thanks to Trump, we're back up, and he's going to do this, this, and this. There was a lot of people on the Twitterverse and the TikTokverse who were like, oh, this is great. Wow, great for Trump. This is great for us. He recognizes the power of it. It's little things like that that I don't think people get when it comes to him. Because, look, Trump has a lot of, he has a lot of self-inflicted wounds at times, right? Like he has, a few errors here and there. But the understanding of human beings, he gets it so much. The humor, the trolling, all of it. What other politicians just don't get. That's why when I see other politicians try to be like Trump, I laugh, because they're usually a cheap imitation of him. Because he is a one-of-a-kind. And what he has done here, it's not even close to any argument politically of the greatest comeback in history of politics. It's not even close. You go back to 4 years ago, January 6th. Nothing. He was done. Basically by himself. From there, he leaves town, pissed and angry, and then slowly but surely emerges again a little bit later, right? Things aren't going so well. decides he's getting in the race really early, and everybody's like, well, we'll see. Then here comes, one of the indictments, and here comes another indictment, and here comes this, and here comes that. All the while, though, taking a step forward, building up power, building. Then you got all these people running. Trump doesn't even show up at any of the debates. Doesn't have to. And he continues to grow. Then you get this summer, not one, but two assassination attempts. One of them that is a moment in time that will be in books. And he still keeps going. And he keeps going. And he does his thing. And from where he was on the 6th, really the 7th of January in 21 to where he is now, nothing, like a phoenix rising from the ashes. It is incredible. And this is the stuff that history books will talk about. This is the stuff that people will go, remember when? My kids will ask me, what was that like? Like my 6-year-old has no idea. My son's not paying much attention. He just lost his hockey game championship final. He's very upset right now. He's been texting me. They lost in shootouts. Very sad. But he gets things the way that others haven't. And that is what has truly separated him from so many people. People wonder why, how's a guy who's an oligarch billionaire understand what the plumber down the street going through? Because that's who he is. You guys look at him as just, for so many of these people out there, they look at him just as money. He's not. He's been a success. He has failed. He's been a success. He's failed. Like so many people. And he keeps going. He just does it at a much greater level than pretty much everybody else. And the way that he is able to converse and talk to people is because he grew up hanging out on building sites. Finding out, hey, what's your wife? Oh, yeah, she's cool. She's great. Wearing the hard hat, being a developer, dealing with the people. It's just a much different person. And the rise, the fall, and the rise again, it's amazing. Now, this is it. Like I've said, you got about a year to a year and a half to get it going in such a way that when midterms roll around, you've got nothing to worry about. Zero, zilch, nada. And that you get a bigger margin in the House, and that you get a bigger margin and hold on to what you have in the Senate. And that those last 2 years are going to be years of continuing to do what you're doing, and then who's up next? A lot of stuff still to get to. We got more with Brian, who is out there. Biden getting ready to bounce out of Washington. Off he heads. By the way, pardoned a lot of people in his family. We'll talk a little bit about that today. A bunch of other stuff. It is the Chad Benson Show at Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital. Let me tell you something about Bulwark. You don't know where the market's going to go. Is it overcooked? Could it pop at any moment? We're going to have some issues with tariffs. Where this is going to be a little unsettled time as we get ourselves our sea legs back. What are you doing when it comes to your retirement? Why don't you call my buddies over at Bulwark? They're going to give you a second opinion. It's called a risk review. Call 866-779-RISK today. 866-779-RISK. And when you do, they're going to go through your entire portfolio. Show you what they do. They're about risk management, lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility, give you the most upside potential. And worst case scenario is you leave learning a little bit. Best case scenario, you realize, to get where I want to go, I'm going to have to make changes. It is that simple and easy. Call them today. Set up a free second opinion, or as they call it, a risk review, 866-779-RISK today. Or check out everything they do at knowyourriskradio.com, KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Truck Financial LLC, and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and not a guarantee. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Check 24378.
Still got that crash west of Nashville. It is an overturned vehicle blocking the left lane eastbound 40 between Kingston Springs, Ashland City, Highway 249, and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. President Trump's second inauguration got a full report. President Biden's parting pardons. All that and more at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wait, he pardoned people? Yeah, like everybody in his family and everybody he's ever met.
This is outrageous. A president's never done this before.
Never done that. Man, he was on fire today. What are you up to? 4,200 total pardons. Now, I want to take you guys back a few years.
Biden did?
Oh, total. I think
4,200?
I think it was something like that.
Wow.
4,200, 4,200, something like that. Some ridiculous amount like you've never even think. But I think it was closer to 4,200. I wanted to take you guys back a few years when the thought of pardoning, Trump had thought about pardoning some people. Well, they would never, ever think about that.
Have you ever heard of somebody getting a preemptive pardon who was innocent of all crime? Who's just an innocent person? Have you ever heard of that? Just somebody getting a blanket pardon and they're an innocent person?
But no, it's the president's own family. It's people that have been covering up for the president in addition to his own family.
Is there an innocent explanation for someone to seek preemptive pardons for family members? Would you do that if you knew you were innocent and just worried about outside forces?
We got more of this to play. I just want to play a little bit of that to understand that today he pardoned his brother's wife, I think one of his girls. I mean, he pardoned everybody you could think of. If he ran across you, even if you sold him ice cream, he might have been, I'll give you a pardon.
Both his brother and his sister were pardoned, and also their spouses.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Fauci.
Well, that's...
But still, everybody, I'm talking about January 6th, Milley, anybody that,
Why would Fauci need a pardon if he hadn't committed any crimes?
You know what? I think this is a really good thing because now, if you do bring him up, there's no more pleading the fifth. Can't talk himself into anything.
Yeah, because he has no crime to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Well, he can't implement himself or into any crime or
he can't implicate himself. He can no longer be accused of having done something.
Yeah, so I think that's a great thing. But he lied to Congress. He lied to the American people, which nobody cares about because these guys and gals lie to the American people all the damn time. Their whole life is that. But he pardoned his family. And as I said earlier, I don't know how it works. We're going to have Brian at the top of the hour. Maybe we'll ask him. Maybe he knows better than us on how a lot of this stuff is going to go down with the pardons. Is it like in case of an emergency, break the glass, hand out your pardon? Do you hold on to it for a long time? Is there a time frame for any of these things? I don't know. We're going to find out what the number is, too. I believe it is 4,200 people he pardoned. That's a lot of people.
The pardons today went back to 2014.
Yeah.
So if they did something in 2013, as long as the statute of limitations hasn't run out, it's fair game.
Yeah. It's very interesting indeed. Coming up, Brian Wilson is out there. We'll talk to him about that. He's got his big signing ceremony, the Trumpster, 47 a little bit. Talk a bit about that as well. If you miss any of the show, we say shame, shame, shame.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and it looks like this deep freeze for Middle Tennessee has been extended at least another day. Tell you more about it during the full forecast in 5 minutes.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump and J.D. Vance sworn into office in the Capitol Rotunda. The 47th president in his first speech that followed vowed to usher in a new golden age.
Above all, my message to Americans today is that it is time for us to once again act with courage, vigor, and the vitality of history's greatest civilization.
President Trump also pledging to reverse the Biden administration's executive orders. ABC's Karen Travers has more on the day.
We expect him to do some signing ceremonies still up at the Capitol and then head down to Capital One Arena, where a lot of his supporters have been standing in lines for hours to get in. That's where the parade was moved. They took the outdoor parade. They're going to do an indoor celebration there. The president and first lady are expected to stop by. And then he's going to be here at the White House. And that's when we expect some of those executive orders to be signed.
Former President Biden and First Lady Jill Biden were outside the Capitol and boarded a military helicopter departing Washington, D.C.
Fox News is reporting President Trump has already shut down the CBP One app that facilitated migrant arrivals to the U.S. And President Biden announced in the final minutes of his presidency he's issuing pardons for his brother Jim and his brother's Jim's wife, Sarah, his sister Valerie Owens, and her husband John, and his brother Frank. The president said in a statement his family has been subjected to, quote, unrelenting attacks and threats motivated solely by a desire to hurt me, the worst kind of partisan politics. He adds, unfortunately, I have no reason to believe these attacks will end. The president doesn't say, or I should say the former president, doesn't say what the pardons could be for, what he thinks his family would be targeted for, but he says the pardon should not be mistaken as an acknowledgement of any wrongdoing or an admission of guilt for any offense. And President Trump will be dealing with the Los Angeles area, getting ready for more strong Santa Ana winds today, less than 2 weeks after the devastating wildfires broke out across L.A.
With those strong winds, aircraft may not be able to be used on the incident. Once those winds get up beyond 30, 40 miles an hour, that very much limits what the aircraft can do.
That is Dennis Burns, a fire behavior analyst for the incident management team for the Eaton fire. Here in Tennessee, Metro Police say they found 2 missing girls out of East Tennessee at a 21-year-old man's home in Nashville. Isaac Shells Smith is accused of picking up the girls he was communicating with over social media, then driving them to Nashville and having sex with the 13-year-old. The other girl is 12. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
47 is in the house, the White House, that is. Big signing coming up in a little bit. Brian Wilson out there in beautiful D.C., thanks to Busy Bee. And, Brian, we were going through the amount of pardons that Biden has. Almost 8,100 pardons.
That's astonishing, and these pardons of his family members at the last minute, that's really surprising. I mean, he says, "Oh well, there's not. They didn't do anything wrong. We just want to, shut down any potential." Well, hold on a minute. That's not the way it works. You don't pardon people if they've done nothing wrong. And what's interesting, these go back to 2014, I'm told. So, this covers a multitude of sins. And isn't it interesting? We kept hearing, oh, yeah, the money was filtered down from this corporation to this sub-corporation, and then it would end up in somebody like, some family member's bank account. Well, that's why all of them are now being, I think, are now being protected from prosecution.
Hey, Brian.
With a preemptive pardon. Yeah.
Just to give you some perspective, I told Chad this. George W. Bush, total number of pardons, 200. Barack Obama, total number of pardons, 1927. Not even a quarter of what Biden has done. And then Donald Trump, during his first term, was 237. His is 8,064.
It's amazing. I've never seen anything quite like it. Apparently everybody in Washington is getting a pardon. But again, why is there a need for a pardon if they've done nothing wrong? Which is the question that keeps coming back to mind.
I think a lot of people have that question, Brian. So
I think people know the answer to that question too.
I think they do. They'll say, "Well, it was because he was going to come for them." Whatever. The reality is, you give people, and I don't even know how the pardon works because you usually have to have done something, been convicted of something to use it. You have a preemptive pardon. What is it? In case of emergency, break the glass and grab my pardon?
I guess. This is new territory for me. I don't know.
So you're out there, and obviously you're checking everything out. I was just seeing some video from the Capital One Center. Brian, people are. So you can't have anything in there. So people, like women, are dropping their Louis Vuitton purses, just grabbing their cash and their credit cards, and they're leaving everything out there. There are everything you could think of is just laying out in front of the Capital One Center.
Well, the thing about it is that it really is a chaotic thing when you make a decision that late in the game. Now, again, I'm going to take them for their word that they say it's about the weather, and let's assume that it was. But still, when you start changing things that dramatically, at the very last minute, there are going to be a lot of hiccups. And I think that's probably what has happened here. Oh, we needed clear bags. Nobody told us. Well, yeah, normally if you had a week to work that all out, you would have gotten that notification. But things happen so quickly, I think they just had to sort of make it up as they're going along. We're told that they pulled the template, basically the plan from 85?
Yeah.
During the Reagan inauguration, when they had to do the inauguration inside. That was just shortly before I got to Washington. But they apparently pulled the template for that. Well, a lot of things have changed since 1985 that I don't think they anticipated.
So he's going to go in there today. He's going to sign, I don't know how many executive orders and and actions he's going to sign, and then away it goes. But tomorrow is when the real work begins, Brian. And I've been saying this for a while. Trump doesn't have 4 years. Trump has about a year to a year and a half to get everything moving in the right direction.
I would say 6 months. I would even, because look, if you don't get it in the first round, and the things that you want, that's why I keep saying I want a big, beautiful bill. He wants it all wrapped up into one bill, and he wants to get it done so that he can say this is what we accomplished. Because I'll be honest with you, in a 4-year term, if you don't get it done in the first 6, maybe 8 months, then it's not likely to happen for you.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, and I've been saying, because people are like, well, no, he's got 4 years. No, he doesn't, because then what happens is people start to turn. Then your Congress people change, and all of a sudden you lose the Senate, and now you've got 2 years where you've got the Democrats with power there, and you know what they can do and what they might do. So you really got to get this done quick, because once you get this done, it shuts people up and people move on.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting day. I think by the end of the day, we're going to see that a lot of things that that Biden did that harmed this country are going to be undone simply by executive order, and that will be a step in the right direction. And we're going to start seeing. I guarantee you, by tomorrow, you're going to have video leading tomorrow morning's newscast of all the arrests they made overnight of people that needed to be taken out of this country because they came here illegally. They're criminals, they're thugs, and they need to leave. And you're going to see that as the lead story, I bet, tomorrow morning on tomorrow morning's newscast.
Yeah, I know Tom Holman was talking about it. San Diego.
They're not going to waste any time. No. That guy's been champing at the bit for about 2 months now.
I mean, it's one of those things where he's ready to get out of the blocks, and that's going to happen, I think, soon, very soon. Like you said, maybe tonight, maybe later on this afternoon. You never know with him. The reality, though, is as they move forward, is you're going to be able to close the border. You're going to be able to do a lot of different things when it comes to that, just through executive. But then you've got some other stuff that you're going to have to get done, and you're going to need Congress. And I do worry about, because they don't have a big, you can't lose more than 2, and then you're in a heap of trouble. So I do worry about how that's going to go. He's got more in the Senate, than he does. I feel I have more confidence in the Senate than I do in Congress.
Yeah, I would agree with that assessment as well. It's going to get down to a very small number of votes that he can afford to lose on anything. And, I think the real question here is will he have the support of the House and the Senate for the things that he said he wanted to do? Everybody knew what he was running on. There are no surprises here, no big shocks. So, is Congress going to be with him in the way that they need to be with him? I'm like you. I'm a lot more worried about the House in that regard than I am the Senate, because he can only afford to lose a few votes in the House before they have to depend on Democrats to pass some of this stuff.
And when I look at the Senate, I think to myself, some of the stuff that he wants to do and get through, that they could do it on single bills and stuff like that, because I think he would have even some support of some Democrats who look at some of these immigration bills and certain things like that and are like, yeah, that's a must. But that House, because I do worry about people that are into being celebrities. They're more interested in making a stand, getting their name out there, than doing some things that you think are the right thing to do.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some real I think there'll be a real backlash against those members if they stand in the way of the thing that Americans hired Donald Trump to fix. If they are perceived as being in the way, I can guarantee you they're going to have a lot of political problems. So I assume that the Republicans will be there. But you can never, there's one oddball congressman who can throw a wrench in the whole thing, and I'm really hoping that doesn't happen.
Talking to Brian Wilson, who's out there. Thanks to our buddies over at Busy Bee Plumbing as you're out there in D.C. and stuff. So, Brian, what's your plans for the rest of the day? Are you moving around? What's the deal?
Well, I mean, I was going to try to move around more, but the problem here is that everything is so secure. And then not only that, just to bore people with some technical stuff, we have one good, real, reliable location for broadcasting, and my technical stuff that I would use to go out and roam is not working so well. What happens in a situation like this, every time there's some kind of an official movement, when I say presidential movement or a former president movement, they will take down the internet for a while, and they'll turn it off for a second or two. And it's to protect them while they're moving people around the city of Washington. But when that happens, I do lose my signal. So I'm going to stick with my best microphone and my best set of equipment, and probably will just be hanging out in Congressman Rose's office for the rest of the day.
What is, you got out there a couple days ago. Have you seen, obviously the show of force is tremendous, but have you seen it grow throughout the last couple days?
Yeah, we got here a couple days ago, and we've been, spent some time this weekend driving around, and the town is a little different. They say that nobody comes to work in downtown Washington anymore. If that's true, then it was hard for me to find evidence of that, because their traffic was a nightmare. Streets are closed. They go through all this elaborate security because they're going to have an event outside on the mall where thousands and thousands and thousands of people are going to attend, and then they say, "Oh, never mind. We're going to do this inside now," and it turned things into absolute turmoil. But just the security lockdown that is still in place it'll take a month to clean this town up and get all of this fencing down and return things to normal. So it's crazy. There may not be many federal workers coming to work today, but I have a feeling that's going to change in the next few days as Donald Trump insists that they all come back to work.
You know, that's funny because the whole Doge thing there's already a lawsuit out there ready to roll, you know, to say, well, what you're doing is unconstitutional, or it's that, you know, whatever they're saying, because there's going to be lawsuits on every one of these executive orders and executive
Absolutely,
action.
yeah.
So the funny thing, though, is the amount of people who don't go to work in the federal government. In many of these places, we've got these beautiful new buildings that are completely empty. And that, to me, is going to be fascinating to watch how Doge works, because for many of these people, they're protected through laws. The federal government's protected
and a bunch of them just got new contracts that project that into the future. In other words, the Biden people and the Biden administration did everything they can to Trump-proof this city. Now, they can't do it completely, but that's what they tried to do. And they actually gave contracts to a bunch of federal employees saying, hey, you know what? If you want to continue to work from home, that's just fine by us. And those contracts run for, a couple of years into the future. So it may take them a while to get everybody back to Washington to go to work.
It's going to be interesting. Brian, we'll be talking to you throughout the day as we're getting ready to do some signing. Hey, what'd you think of Melania's hat? I felt like she was going to go riding in a horse.
Yeah, I'm watching the signing ceremony now where he signs a bunch of documents, and he's doing all of that right now in the presence of the leadership of the House and the Senate. Chuck Schumer's there with his head bowed, looking pretty miserable. And there's Hakeem Jeffries, who's at least being polite about it all. But this is a day of pomp and ceremony and signatures and all kinds of stuff. And you got to cross your T's and dot your I's, and so that's what they're doing now.
Hey, Brian,
yep.
Are you seeing the TV? Obviously, right?
Right.
What room are they in? Do you know?
This, I think, is on the Senate side. I believe this is. I'm not sure. It's hard for me to tell from here, but I think it's on the Senate side. It looks like it is on the Senate side, but I'm not real sure. That might be the Speaker's gallery, though. I can't tell.
Yeah, it's definitely, they've got everybody around there. It's VP, you got Klobuchar.
It's very Trump-like, a lot of gold on the walls.
A lot of gold on the wall, a lot of people wearing red ties, a lot of people wearing blue ties. Some people are laughing even on the Democrat. And do you think, he put that out there today that, he wants the Democrats and Republicans to get along. We know Trump, he says a lot of stuff. I think he means it, but it doesn't mean he's going to change his ways. I think, though, all that matters is, can he do enough to make people who are Democrats, who maybe held their nose and voted for him, to continue on that path of supporting him when it comes to, because I think, besides immigration, economy is going to be huge.
Right. He's gonna be able to answer and do a lot of the things he said he was going to do right off the bat, and even before the time today is over, he will have done a lot of those things that he promised to do. The economy will take a little time, and the real question here is, with all of these tariffs, do you have to sort of take a hit before things get better? And if you have to take that hit before things get better, how do you explain that to people who wanted, some real change economically?
Well,
so it's going to be interesting to watch that guy and how that unfolds in the next few days.
Absolutely. Brian Wilson with us. He's out there in D.C. We'll be talking to him throughout the day. Matt will have him as well. A lot of stuff still to come, Brian, so we'll talk to you in just a little bit. Appreciate it. Again, Trump doing some signings here. He's going to go to a luncheon. Then he's off to the Capital One Center to do some more signing. A lot more stuff to talk about coming up, not just about, this day itself, but forward, because forward is where you're going, because you can't, you try looking backwards and running forward, you're going to crash. And some of you are like, no, he should do all these investigations, do these things. I think the whole thing is going forward and winning is going to cure most of the ills. And that's what you want to do, especially if you're him. Because let me tell you something, legacy is important to these guys. We'll talk a bit about that. A bunch of other stuff. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there now. Use my code Chad and get the best thing you're going to get for your animals, which is a powdered supplement that is going to help your dog and cat's food become so much more healthy than it is now. Brown, not great. Green is. With rough greens, vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, fruits, vegetables, all this incredible stuff, enzymes, the whole 9 yards. It is awesome what one scoop can do for your dog and cat. They have Meow Greens and Rough Greens. Right now, they want you to try a Jumpstart trial bag for free. I use it with my cats, and I use it with my dogs. They're healthy. They're happy. It is amazing. And their coats are incredible. If you'd like to try a Jumpstart trial bag for free, all you have to do is use my code Chad when you go to roughgreens.com. It's a $20 value. You cover the cost of shipping. They get it to you for free. RUFFgreens.com. Use code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Code Chad.
All right, drivers, checking out that crash west of Nashville. It is impacting both directions of I-40 in between Keystone Springs, Ashland City Highway 249, exit 188, and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. The crash itself is an overturned vehicle. It is blocking the left lane of 40 eastbound, but westbound is backed up too. President Trump inauguration full report coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
President Trump is preparing to issue a sweeping series of pardons for defendants charged in the January 6th attack on the Capitol, including commuting the prison sentences of hundreds of his supporters who've been convicted of violent attacks against law enforcement. Sources familiar with the matter tell ABC. The planned commutations for those who attacked police goes well beyond what many of his allies anticipated he would extend to the January 6th defendants, and paves the way for potentially hundreds of supporters, some sentenced to years behind bars for vicious assaults on police, to be released in the coming days.
If you attack the cops, sorry. If you were there and you should have just gotten a slap on your wrist and a fine and sent home, no problem with that. I think most people think if you're part of the attack the police, sorry, that's a no-go. That is a no-go. But that being said, how many people were overcharged? Because that's what they do. It's what the feds do. They wanted to send a message
Send a message to the people. How dare you do this? Send a message. Okay. You sent the message. He's going to unwind so much of the ridiculousness. And look, you were in the wrong place. You shouldn't have done it. But if you were fighting with the cops, you were in places where you went and you did awful things to Nancy Pelosi's desk, grabbing things, breaking through doors, you should pay the price for that. That's my opinion. Other people may, no, they're heroes. No, they're not. They're not. It's like people who say that, Eric Snowden is a hero. Eric Snowden is not a hero. He went from let's expose some stuff to let's take a whole bunch of crap that I have nothing to do with. And then let's hide in all of the places that are anti-America until I can get to Russia. That's not a hero. So, should he pardon most of these people? Yes. It's time to move on from that. And the left lives in this world. Oh, my God, he's going to do this. Oh, my God, look at this. Oh, my God, he's going to the pardon here, the pardon there. You know what? Biden just pardoned 8,000 plus people total, which is mind-boggling, including some absolute filth of filth. I mean, people that you're just like, what are you doing? This isn't Mark Rich, because the real controversial pardons came. Mark Rich was the last person that Clinton pardoned. And he was a big oil guy. And during the embargo times, he said, pfft, and he did his own thing. And they wanted him. They never got him. I don't think he ever tested the pardon by coming to America. But that was a big thing. These things now, it's like the amount of people that are just beyond. This wasn't like, weed issues with some people. He pardoned some filthy animals, killers, people who were part of a pay-for-play when it came to jail by judges. I mean, it is mind-boggling. But, old Frances, right, and her kid who went to the Capitol on January 6th and happened to, the insurrection. Well, if you're going to insurrection, this is it, the coup, stay behind the velvet ropes. Like, come on. And I've said this over and over again. You're the master of your own ship. You went there, you did something you weren't supposed to be, you were somewhere you weren't supposed to be, paid the price, the overdoing of it. But yeah, I think if you broke a door, if you tried to get into other people's offices, if you did horrible things like that, you fought the cops, that's a you thing. That is a you thing. Absolutely. 100%. So we'll see. He is going to have a lunch here in a little bit, seeing all the people on all of the stations talk about it. Oh, my God, what are we going to do? He's now president of the United States. He said there's only two genders. Bill, there's only two genders.
Yeah, the world's coming to an end now because he said that,
Yeah, there's Coke and Pepsi. Those are the only two genders. How hilarious would that have been?
You can have Diet Coke and Diet Pepsi, though, right?
There's just Diet Coke and Coke, nothing else. There's only one restaurant that'll be allowed in America.
Well, Trump is a Diet Coke guy.
He is a Diet Coke guy, right? Is the Diet Coke thing back? Did they bring that thing back? Because remember, he had the little phone thing where you could call and get a burger or a steak and a Diet Coke.
Well, he's going to have that all the time anyway.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. But it's different when it's in the house, right? Like, it wouldn't be great if you went there and there's a McDonald's downstairs.
And for those of you that don't realize it, anytime a president orders anything that is not directly related to his job, say toiletries for their living quarters, or he orders a meal at 2:00 in the morning because he's up late, he has to pay for all that himself. He gets a bill every month for his food and sundries.
Can you believe that? That's how we treat the president of the United States. Hey, do you think that Biden and them took a bunch of stuff on the way out?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Did you see that picture of Kamala vandalizing her desk?
Did you see? I mean, do you just take? I mean, that's what you do, right? Like Trump did it. Everybody does it. Oh, I want that. This is a love letter of me, Kim Jong-un.
Every president does that.
Of course.
And it's only Trump that got accused of stealing secrets when he did it.
Yeah. Secrets. Let's be real. And by the way, speaking of secrets, we're going to talk about that because he's promised some stuff, and I'm waiting for it. A lot of stuff still to get to. 47 is in,
And the party for some has begun, but the real work really begins tomorrow. We'll touch on that. A lot of other stuff to get to. It is Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
.30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we're going to spend at least one additional day in the deep freeze here in Middle Tennessee. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Traffic out west of Nashville. We've got both directions of 40 that is seeing big backups because of an overturned vehicle. It's in the left lane going eastbound on 40 between Keystone Springs, Ashland City Highway 249, exit 188, and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. It is eastbound, but it's affecting both directions.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Brian Clark.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success.
Sworn in for a second term, President Donald Trump said America's decline is over as he promised immediate executive action on issues that include the southern border, energy, and higher prices.
I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
The inauguration was indoors for the first time since 1985 because of the cold weather. The president's now been speaking to supporters inside of Emancipation Hall. He's criticized former President Biden's last-minute pardons for members of the January 6th committee and retired General Mark Milley. Biden also pardoned his family members and their spouses. He and his wife have just departed Andrews Air Force Base.
That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Trump relaxing, eating a little lunch before he heads off to his indoor parade, guys.
Look, he's falling asleep.
Oh, man, he's got Klobuchar next to him. What is that about?
Do you remember that there was something on the campaign trail that he had done, and they were having a prayer, and he had closed his eyes, and leftist Twitter went ballistic saying he was sleeping. Blue and on.
Hey, you know what? There's no secret. This stuff here, it bores the crap out of me. I told Belle, man, if this stuff was still going on, because I care about the doing, not the celebration of stuff. All right? That matters more. Although he's funny. Earlier today, he said this.
You know, the only thing good about it, it showed how bad they are, showed how incompetent, and frankly, historically, this is a much bigger event. If that would have gone like it should have, the bad thing about it is some bad things happen, like a lot of people in our country that wouldn't be in our country right now. So that's the bad part. But I will say that it started in 2015, and right from the beginning, we went to the top. The day one, they announced Trump, and Trump went to number one and stayed there for the whole primary. And then we took on Hillary. She didn't look too happy today. We took on Hillary, a very nice person, but we took on Hillary and we defeated Hillary, and then we did much better the second time in 2020. You know, we got millions more votes. We got millions, like 10, 12 million more votes than we did the first time.
I love that. He just had to throw in. Didn't look too happy today. Did you see, what's his name? Shane, comic.
Gillis.
Did you see him say, "You're 0-2, ladies"? You're 0-2.
That's so true. Trump does beat women, doesn't he?
That's it. You're 0-2, ladies. This is it. You're 0-2. You're 0-2. Some of the other fun stuff Trump was dealing with when his speech today.
This week, I will also end the government policy of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life. We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
Good. Male and female. DEI, probably easy to eliminate it from most of the government stuff, you know, military and stuff like that. They're already closing down their offices and their parts of the agency. So not really, you know, that stuff. The big stuff is going to be immigration, obviously. That's a huge deal because that's one that, here's the beauty of it. It's already been challenged. He's already seen these things challenged. He's already won these things. So that's going to be a win for him already because even if they try to challenge it, he's already gone through the system. They're just putting something back that was already there. Some of the other stuff, the Doge and things of that nature, is going to be interesting to see because, you know, we were talking, California burns 2 weeks ago. They're setting aside $50 million, not to fight the fires, but to fight Trump, which is insane. They're putting $50 million up so we can fight Trump. Oh, we're coming for you. We're here. We're going to do everything we can to fight you. Okay. I mean, you know, it's the same thing, right? We do it here with Biden. You know, they did it there with in Texas with, you know, Dan Patrick and them fought, and, you know, Abbott fought over and over again with the Biden administration. So that's nothing new, but it is, you know, this is the battle between the states and the federal government. And the federal government is a beast, but there's a lane they should stay in. But some of this stuff, when it comes to oil, some of this stuff when it comes to energy, some of this stuff when it comes, and with immigration, like immigration is one of the few things where you look and go, that's what you guys are 100% in charge of. The states aren't in charge of it. You are. Nobody else is in charge of it. And even though the states like, Texas and Arizona tried it to do some things, there's still a limit on what they can do, not with the federal government. It protects our Constitution and our freedom. And yes, immigration is a huge, huge issue. One of the other things Brian and I were talking about earlier, we're going to have him on at the top of next hour, was about the economy. And one of the things we talked about was, what are you going to do if it doesn't go perfect with the economy to begin with? Because I said Trump's got a year. Brian thinks he's got 6 or 8 months to really get this thing on a path where it gives him strength to continue to motor on. And people, because remember, it's not about Trump. At some point, it's about your Congress people. Absolutely.
If he's successful in that first 6 months, I bet you it gets him another 6.
Oh, yeah.
Because if he gets momentum going, then it's just going to be like a boulder rolling downhill.
Yeah, if he gets several things just checked off that are big things. Ukraine war, done and dusted. Palestine, somewhat. And that's a tough thing because you're dealing with Hamas, and as we said last week, they're a business. Sure, there were some people that got handed over yesterday, and it was, by the way, if you didn't see it, they handed over 3 women, and they surrounded their car, and they got their black ninja outfits on with their headband, right? They all got guns, and they handed them like a goodie bag, like a going away. Hey, you take this. What's it got in there? Pictures of us together as pals. Yeah, what do you think of that? But there's only so much you're going to be able to do in that situation because at some point in time, Hamas is going to rear its ugly head because they're a business. And unless you can really stomp down on Iran the way that has happened and continue to do that, they're going to eventually rear its ugly head again and do stuff. But you're going to have the issue with inflation. It's one of the other big reasons. I always say it's the 2 I's. Inflation and immigration were the real big issue that crushed the Democrats.
Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens. For this purpose, we are establishing the External Revenue Service to collect all tariffs, duties, and revenues. It will be massive amounts of money pouring into our treasury, coming from foreign sources. The American dream will soon be back and thriving like never before.
And I think that's true, but I still say this, we're going to have some bumps in the road. He is not a wizard. He's not a genie. He's not going to grant people wishes.
How dare you, sir?
I know, I hate to say it. I'm not a wizard. And there's going to be some. And you have to prepare the people. And I think if you want to look to a place that's done that, is Argentina. Javier Milei came in.
Oh, God. I love that guy.
And with his sweet hair and his
chainsaw.
His chainsaw and his sex-crazed girlfriend. He chopped
and
stuff.
his dogs.
And his dogs.
Named after Austrian economists.
As you do. I love that. But the thing about what he did was he told everybody, I'm going to get inflation under control, but there's going to be some issues because it's not an overnight thing. And inflation is under control there, but poverty rose. But because of the way that he braced the people, they see light at the end of a tunnel. And that's what you have to do. If you don't do it that way, then people are going to be surprised. You have to say it's not going to be easy. These people have taken advantage of us for years and years, and we're going to have to go do our thing. And that thing is going to have some bumps in the road. But when we're through it, it's going to be 1,000 times better. When we're through it, it is going to be way better than what we have now. But there is going to be some bumps in the road. If people expect that, then that's a win. If they don't expect that, and you kind of throw that at them, that's where people get frustrated. And we are a very fickle nation. Hence the reason why it seems, and Brian was talking about earlier, you get 6 months or a year. Well, that's because usually what we do is the presidency, especially if they're the House and the Senate, usually get one thing, right? Like Obamacare, tax cuts, whatever. They get one big thing. Then everybody gets frustrated. And then because we're fickle, we flip back and go, well, you've got too much power. Trump has a chance to change some of that, for sure. But you got to start it out right. And when you tell the people the truth, It ain't going to be easy. This isn't happen overnight. And we're going to take these actions because long-term it's going to be better. People will brace for that. They will. One of the things I know he's going to win at is the border.
Today, I will sign a series of historic executive orders. With these actions, we will begin the complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense. First, I will declare a national emergency at our southern border.
Which is smart. And, you know, as Chris and I and Brian were talking when we were doing the switchover, these cartels have gone and trained at times in some of these places that the people are coming here from who hate everything America's about and have facilitated their movement in through other parts of the world into, you know, South America somewhere, down through the Northern Triangle into our country. And they've helped. The minute you've done that, the minute that you've gone and you've absolutely 100% undeniable, you helped a terrorist get into our country, you are a terrorist organization. Not just because of the drugs and the violence, because we as a nation, we got a real issue with consumption here. Like, can we just be honest, right? If there wasn't any need for it and want for it, people, they would have nothing. But we consume it. So part of that's on us. But the other part of human trafficking, in particular, groups of people that may be on their way or already here, whose sole goal into coming to the States isn't to better their lives, isn't for freedom, but is to disrupt our life, to cause terror, to cause pain, to cause death. And that right there, the minute you do this, because they're put on notice now. Hey, this is no more, you know, everything stops at the border and we're going to look across. This is full bore. Guess what? We will come get you. We will treat you in a different way, a way that you're not used to having. And they're no joke, by the way. Los Zetas, a lot of these guys, they're no joke. And they're willing to kill, and they want to protect their business. And they'll tell you it's just business. Well, this is more to business to us. A lot of stuff still to get to. We're going to talk to Brian, who is currently in D.C., thanks to Busy Bee. He's out there. We're going to talk to him about what's going on as they're having their luncheon, and then where does Trump go from here starting tomorrow, and how he faces all of this stuff. So much stuff to get to. Really, again, a very interesting day. And the way that Trump's approaching this over the next, I'd say 48 hours, is going to say a lot over these first 6 months. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Prize Picks, man, won a little this weekend. Oh, did you? Yes. Some of you know what Prize Picks is. It's fantasy. It's incredible. It's not about teams, not about picking, I'm going to pick this team over that team with X amount of points. It's not. It's, do I think that X, will say Saquon Barkley, will get more or less than 100 yards? I think more. Okay, check. Do I think that Josh Allen will score more than 1.5 touchdowns? I do. That's how I set my lineup. And then I win. You can win up to 1,000 times your money. It's incredible. Easy to do. So much fun. And my wife, she loves doing it. Now's your time to join. Now, when you go and you download the Prize Picks app, you are going to get a $50 bonus the minute you play your first $5 lineup. But you've got to use my promo code Chad. It is simple. It is fun. And with the playoffs going, there's plenty of winning to be had. Go download the Prize Picks app today. Use my code Chad. The minute you play your first $5 lineup, you get a $50 bonus. Prize Picks. Run your race.
Drivers are having a rough time on I-40 west of Nashville today. Right now, we still got that overturned vehicle in the left lane, 40 eastbound between Kingston Springs, Ashland City, Highway 249, exit 188, and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. But it's also backing up westbound, too. And then between there and downtown, we got a stalled vehicle on the left shoulder backing people up 40 eastbound near Charlotte Pike. Trump inauguration full report. Metro Police busy with sex offenders today. That's coming up at 2 on Super Token 99.7 WTN.
First step toward restoring transparency and accountability to government, we will also reverse the overclassification of government documents, and in the coming days, we are going to make public remaining records relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, his brother Robert Kennedy, as well as Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other topics of great public interest. It's all going to be released, Uncle Sam.
Uncle Sam, it's coming out. Nothing you can do to stop it. He did promise it once. And from what I hear, and many of you probably heard this, but I don't know, maybe you haven't, is he was ready to release everything. And, but, a couple of the bigwigs got to him, including Pompeo, and said, don't. It'll destroy so many things and lives and probably agencies. So
did he have any tacit permission from the family to do it?
I don't think.
And I know he can just do it if he wants to, but was the family saying, yeah, we really would like this?
I don't think so. It's hard to tell. What the relationship is. Obviously, they all think their brother / cousin / uncle is probably crazy, but he'd like to know about what happened to Pops, and he'd like to. And by the way, today's Martin Luther King Day. I hear people. Somebody said to me today, well, look at how much distrust is there because of Trump. Go look and see what Hoover did, the amount of information he collected, the stuff that he did when it came to things like Martin Luther King and everybody else he possibly could. So, yeah, they did that to themselves. There is no doubt about that. I want to see if he does it. And, everybody's like, well, what if this exposes agencies? Good. Absolutely. I can't imagine too many people that were around are still alive, or if they are still alive, have any idea what the hell's going on right now. You know what I mean? They're probably that old. So normally when all this stuff comes out, it is because everybody involved is no longer with us. But it's time. It's absolutely time. And you know what they say? If you don't want everybody to see it, it's because you don't want everybody to see what's in it. Because it's going to expose something. So we'll see. We'll see. And the UFOs. Damn it. Show me the UFOs. It's time. Coming up, Brian Wilson, who is out there today, is going to join the program. We're going to talk about what's going on, obviously, and the chaos, the craziness, the excitement in D.C., and the fear. Ooh, the fear. Because there's so much fear. Some of this news coverage is spectacular. If you're missing the show, shame on you. Shame, 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 shame. Shamity, shame, shame, shame.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And drivers both east and westbound 40 is impacted by this overturned vehicle there at Kingston Springs. Right now, a 6-minute delay. And then 40 eastbound near Charlotte Pike, got a stalled vehicle there on the left shoulder. Everybody's got to get over because of the move over law. And it looks like we may have one extra day in the deep freeze this week. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. President Trump sitting down to sign his first official acts of his second term so he can begin governing. He's also expected later to reverse executive orders of the Biden administration and move on pardons for the January 6 defendants.
President Trump is preparing to issue a sweeping series of pardons for defendants charged in the January 6th attack on the Capitol, including commuting the prison sentences of hundreds of his supporters who've been convicted of violent attacks against law enforcement. Sources familiar with the matter tell ABC. The planned commutations for those who attacked police goes well beyond what many of his allies anticipated he would extend to the January 6 defendants and paves the way for potentially hundreds of supporters, some sentenced to years behind bars for vicious assaults on police, to be released in the coming days. Karen Travers, ABC News, the White House.
President Trump also criticized former President Biden, who issued his own pardons before leaving office, including for members of the Biden family, members of the House January 6 investigation, and Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Here in Tennessee, Nashville police have been busy. They found 2 girls, ages 12 and 13. They say had been reported missing at a 21-year-old, and they found the girls at a 21-year-old man's home after he allegedly had sex with the 13-year-old. Police say Isaac Shellsmith had been communicating with the girls over social media, then drove to Hamilton County to pick up the girls, and then drove them back to Nashville on Sunday. Channel 4 says a registered sex offender with a history of looking into women's windows has been arrested. 53-year-old Anthony Martin, accused of looking into a woman's window in the Cleveland Park neighborhood on 3 occasions starting January 7th. The woman says when the man saw her see him, he walked away, but came back 2 more times. And then on January 10th, her front door camera recorded the whole thing. Jail records show Martin has 11 active charges against him, including trespassing, invasion of privacy, and sex offender registration violation. President Trump will be dealing with the ongoing wildfire disaster in Los Angeles. Here's Alex Stone.
Extreme winds are expected to hit overnight tonight. During those times, firefighting aircraft may not be able to fly. 70 to 80 mile per hour wind could be even stronger in some areas. James White is at the National Weather Service.
The time when we have a potential for those strongest winds to mix down is only about 8 hours or so.
170 extra fire engines, water tenders, and firefighting aircraft have been pre-deployed by the governor's office.
That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Cold, yucky. Maybe the last giant came through, right? Maybe some pipes started leaking, but you don't really want to check. Don't do that. United Structural Systems ready to help you. And I'll tell you why. You don't want mold. Ugh. Trust me on that. You don't want wood rot or anything bad that can happen. And don't let something small go sideways and destroy everything. United Structural Systems here to help. They've been in business for a very long time. Since 94. All right? So over 30 years. They got 30,000 5-star reviews. Happy customers. And they're ready to help you. Their inspections are absolutely free. And they're not going to sell you anything unnecessary. Not one of those, all right? They want to help, and they guarantee
to be the best. That's what they're all about. Call them today. If you're even thinking maybe something happened, I don't want anything else to go from bad to worse, call 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or check them out online at ussTN.com. Somebody just texted in and say, stop saying Brian's in D.C. He could have done it from his house. Yeah, could have. But he went out there because he expected other things to happen. He does not control the weather. Do you, Brian?
No, I don't. And but I got to tell you, one way or the other, there are a lot of people who are. We were just having a conversation. I'm in the office of Congressman John Rose, his actual office, not just his office complex. I'm in his office. He just gave us his office today. Isn't that lovely? And we've got a bunch of people from Tennessee who are here, including Congressman Scott J. Jarley, who is here with us now. Let's talk briefly about what happened today. You were in the rotunda when this all went down. What did you think?
Well, I thought Trump fulfilled all of his campaign promises in one speech, and he took the Biden administration and Kamala Harris to the woodshed, rightfully so, on several issues.
I mean, that was a surprise that right there in front of them, he said, basically, you really suck, is basically what he said. That was the whole message there, right in front of them.
I think I enjoyed watching the looks on their faces as much as anything.
Kamala Harris, if looks could kill.
Exactly. She was pretty sour, and Bill Clinton couldn't quit smiling, but I'm not sure what that was about. Someone said it was a Botox accident. But anyway, it was entertaining to watch. And I talked to some of my Democratic colleagues and asked them if that was painful to listen to, and they said they actually expected worse. So, I think Trump has a mandate, and I think he laid it out there. He did it all through the campaign, and he got elected for those reasons.
Now, things are going a little slower than expected. Lunch did not start until 2:30. So he apparently is a little bit behind schedule. Don't know exactly when he's going to get over to One Capitol Center. I understand that we are going to have the high school band from Stewart's Creek is going to perform inside the arena. That announcement made today.
Right. The principal, Clark Harrell, called and said that there was 4 bands in America selected, and Tennessee was one of them. And they said that only 2 got to play, and we weren't one of them. So the kids were on the bus. They'd raised $140,000 to come up here, and then they were told they weren't going to get to perform. So I called Senator Blackburn, Senator Haggerty, and the delegation. We all went to work and guilted the inauguration team into doing the right thing. And lo and behold, they're going to be performing.
All right. Well, good. It's good. Thank you so much for dropping by here. If I got just a moment more, Chad, to talk
Absolutely,
to
my man. Keep doing your thing.
Keep talking to some people from Middle Tennessee. I got some people over here. I know this guy right here. He's a listener to Super Talk 99.7. Give me your name.
Brian Wells.
And so where are you from?
Sherwood.
And so you came here today hoping that you get to see it firsthand. You had to watch it on TV.
Well, it worked out even a little better because we stayed warm.
Yeah.
But no, me and my
whole. Were you prepared to be out there in the cold?
Oh, definitely. We had layers on top of layers. Yeah. We was ready to go.
You had your heat warmers and the glove warmers and the whole 9 yards.
In here.
Yeah. And what about you, sir? Are you excited about the events of the day?
Well, I've enjoyed it.
Have you? What's been your favorite part so far?
The whole thing, just being here.
Just being here. And that's what I'm getting from a lot of folks is, it really wasn't what we thought we were going to be getting into. No, we didn't get to sit outside in the cold and watch it firsthand, but they're still very happy to be here because they think this is an important moment in history, and I'm hard-pressed to disagree with that.
Absolutely. I mean, again, you don't go, I'm not a pomp and circumstance guy. A lot of people are, so, I mean, I don't. This is not my thing, but I understand why a lot of people would want to come out there. And how you're bummed. You take time off work, you travel out there, you spend a lot of money in many cases because it's packed out there, and then you don't get to really see anything, and what you do get to see is on television.
Yeah, Cabana wife came here thinking she was going to be outside and witnessed the whole thing. She didn't get to do that. However, here in the office of Congressman John Rose, a lot of crocheting has taken place today. So we got that doing. You got to always bring a backup plan, and for her, it's crocheting.
Well, there you go. Let me ask you this, Brian. I look at this, and I'm looking at there's the micro and the macro. I'm looking at the macro,
right?
And I've been saying to everybody, I think Trump is so much more prepared, because I think any president coming in is ill prepared to really understand the gravity of not only what you're doing, the magnitude of it all, but also the breadth of how many people you have to appoint, how many people have to get gigs. I mean, we're talking thousands. I think he's in a much better position than most presidents ever have been, because he's had the chance to not only win but then lost and then came back again.
But think about his first term. His first term, he comes in, he doesn't really understand Washington, the way it works. He didn't really understand how the game is played. An advantage in many people's minds, and I think it was an advantage to some degree. But he comes in the door this time knowing exactly, how the game is played, and having learned from previous attempts to get certain things passed. He learned how the process works, etc. I think he's coming in now, really. Probably he will be a better second-term president because there was a gap, I think, because he's had time to think about it and to contemplate it. But one way or the other, it is a momentous day, a historic day, and the day's not even close to being done yet. They're going to go over to Capital One Center. They're going to have a sort of an indoor parade. And he's going to sign a bunch of these executive orders right there in front of everybody. The crowd is going to go absolutely crazy.
Explain. Bell and I, but we've been thinking, what is an indoor parade? How does that even? Does he sit there and then people walk by him? How does this work?
Basically they'll circle the arena in front of him. For example, I understand the Stewart's Creek Band will march up, stand right in front of him, and play for him. So everybody will get their little time. The garbage truck will make a round the arena one time, I suppose. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's not going to be the same thing as having a parade, but. But this is the way Trump. The way he likes to do things. He'll be in front of a big crowd of his supporters, and he'll give them, I'm sure, the full Donald Trump before the day's over.
I thought it's way better for him because he likes to hold court, and walking in a parade is not holding court. This will have a chance for him to hold court.
Yep, I think you're right. Absolutely agree with that 1,000%. So it's going to be an interesting day, and I think a lot of news will be made before we get to sundown today.
As I sit here, he still has confirmation. He's still got people out there. There's more confirmation hearings coming. One of the things, though, I've talked about on my other show and to a bunch of other people is I think one of the most important people that have come with him is Susie Wiles. And I believe that she's kind of a bit of a Donald whisperer, and I think she's going to do far more quietly behind closed doors and behind the scenes than most people realize.
Yeah, the word on her is very capable, no nonsense, and does have the ability to speak to Donald Trump in a way that perhaps other people can't. Have a straightforward conversation with him, say, Mr. President, maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe this is a better idea. Let's think about that for a little bit. She knows how to talk Donald Trump. She can talk to Trump in a way that he responds. But she's no nonsense, and she's getting very high marks.
And it's interesting as she knows how to talk to him, but the thing that I think separates her from so many others who've had those kind of positions or been around Trump is I think he listens to her far more than a lot of other people.
Yeah, I think that's true. And if you have any doubts, look how smoothly for the most part, look how smoothly the whole transition has gone. Look how smoothly. I mean, his numbers are really, really high, even before he took office, which is certainly not the way it was the last time he was here going through that process.
No, and Biden's numbers were not great. They were below Carter's, but nobody's as low as W. W had like a 22% when he wandered away. So W was he was in a whole nother stratosphere. But Biden's numbers are, they're in the toilet, and we expect some of that because sometimes, people are unhappy or on your way out. But I think after today, they'd be even further down by the fact that he pardoned people in his family for years. That's
not going to sit well with a lot of people. Again, the question has to be asked, why so many pardons of your personal family? If they've done nothing wrong, then what's the need for a preemptive pardon? I think it raises more questions for me. Were the House investigators onto something with the Biden Incorporated? It seems to me maybe they were, because if they weren't, then this would not have been necessary. If they had washed out and there was nothing for the Biden family to be concerned about, then why do they need these pardons? It's not going to leave a very good taste in the mouth of an awful lot of people who would like to see some answers to all of that with the passage of time.
And I think the other thing, too, is, everybody over, in the liberal media world is terrified. Oh, my God, he's going to pardon a bunch of January 6 people. Well, this guy just pardoned almost 8,100 people. Yeah. Trump going through and pardoning a vast majority of people that were there who were misdemeanor, trespassing. Let's just all move on with it. I think that falls on deaf ears for so many other people out there in America looking and going, you pardoned murderers, you pardoned all kinds of people. People pay for play when it came to prisons and kids. And now your family, the January 6th, Aunt Flo and Janice, who wandered through the halls and stayed within the velvet ropes, really isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's very clear to me that he's not going to have to take any kind of guff off the Democrats when it comes to any pardons that he issues, no matter what they are, because certainly you'd have to go a long way to match what Biden has done. 8,100 people pardoned. Unbelievable.
Oh, my God.
That's just, I've never heard anything like it. Well, everything that's happened in the last year, how many times have we said, man, I've never seen that before? I never imagined that would happen, but it has happened.
It has happened.
Nothing about this whole election cycle has been predictable, that's for sure.
That's for sure. Brian, appreciate you being out there, man. Stay warm inside that office there, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. It's been a pleasure.
Brian Wilson, who is out there. Somebody's like, why is Brian out there? Because Brian was not supposed to be stuck in an office. He was supposed to be out roaming around, doing stuff. Right, Bell?
Brian?
Yeah?
We're not going to see anything like the last time you were in D.C., are we?
Well, the day is still young.
Yes, true.
No, I hope not. I think it's calm outside, as far as I can tell.
For those of you guys who don't know, he was there January 6th, a few years ago. Something happened. I can't remember what it was. The party.
There's a riot.
Riot, maybe a riot, maybe something like that. Maybe there's some squabbles going on. I mean, stuff like that could have happened. That's all we're saying. But it's interesting to watch because I'm looking at they got the stage set up, they've had to run through and get this thing ready. Tons of people in there. I was saying earlier, I was watching I don't know, somebody sent me a video. People are just leaving their stuff out in front of the venue, the Cap One Center, because they're worried about, well, you can't take anything in. So, there's Louis Vuitton purses and all this stuff just laying there. People are just taking out their cash and their cards, and they're just rushing on in because they don't want to miss this. And I don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, I don't know how this gets done. Brian was telling us that they wander by, and maybe you can, it's like a parade where he sits there, and, you walk by and you play your instruments or whatever, and everybody cheers, and then they move on. But then the signing is going to begin. And he's going to be signing and signing and signing and signing. He's got executive orders and actions. Executive orders and actions are separate. So an executive action, it's more a suggestion. An order is an order. So a lot of that stuff that you're going to see, so you got to separate the two. Where he's strongly suggesting, right, a strongly worded letter that you should do this. Where the order is, it's not a strongly worded letter that you should. It's you are going to do this. And that's going to be immigration. For sure, which is going to be interesting because he's going to be designating them terrorist organizations, obviously shutting the border, and starting later tonight, tomorrow, we're going to get raids in some of the big cities. According to Tom Holman, it sounds like that's what's happening. So a lot will be happening in the next 24 to 48 hours for sure. A lot of stuff still to squeeze into. The left freaking out, which is always hilarious. And I wonder how many people actually watch today comparatively to, say, watch football. Because the numbers for some of the NFL games are out. And this is why sports is king in this country in a major, major way. We'll talk about that as well. A bunch of other stuff. If you're missing the show, we always say, shame, shame, shame. Tariffs, a little worried about that. maybe the fact that we've got lots of debt, dollar's a little weakened. How are you going to protect yourself? Gold. Gold, I say gold. Right now, our buddies over at Birch want to give you the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era, featuring a foreword by Donald Trump Jr. Top of that, they're going to get you out an investor kit, free information, no hard sales, nothing like that, just for you to take a look. All you have to do to get these is text the word Benson to 989898. That's simple. Gold is smart. Birch is amazing. And now maybe you've got an IRA that you're not quite sure what to do with. Maybe you got a 401k. You're trying to figure out what to do. You can transfer all that over and have it backed by gold, which is great. Tax-free, penalty-free. And when you look and see what's going on out there, it's a great way to protect yourself. There's no obligation whatsoever. It's easy to do. And they send all this great stuff out to you for you to take a look. So text the word Benson right now to 989898 for your free information kit. Top of that, you're going to get the ultimate guide to gold in the Trump era. Don't wait. For lasting peace of mind, text Benson to 989898 today.
Kingston Springs still dealing with that overturned vehicle, left lane block 40 eastbound. They're at exit 88. That's in between exit 88 and the Cheatham-Davidson County line. And we've got the very latest on Inauguration Day. A full report coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you. Well, come on now. Can't you feel it? The American spirit is alive and well. This is the dawn of the golden age of America because we inaugurated the 47th President of the United States of America, Donald J. Trump.
Right there is a clip from what is going on currently as the parade of no parades takes place inside of an arena. I wonder how many people watched today. How many people you think watched today? People are working, but a lot of
I'm
people...
sure it was a record.
I'm just trying to think. Had to be a record. Probably 12 billion.
The likes of which nobody has ever seen.
Ever. Greatest
crowd ever.
Ever. Large, enormous. I I do wonder, like, because you got people online, you got all this stuff. So you're trying to figure out how many people watch it. People are off today, but, your kids, like my kids, my son Jack, he had a hockey championship. And I told him what was going on. And
how much time did he spend in the penalty box?
A few minutes. He's been trying to calm himself down a little bit. Usually when his mother sends me a picture, he's 14, he's in the penalty box for usually crushing
Can't help
somebody.
it, Dad. I'm just worked up over this inauguration.
He tells me something the other day. He goes, hey, Dad, what I figured out now is as long as I kind of touch the puck, if the other guy's got it, I could just destroy him. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. You can lay your body on him. But, he asked me how it was going. I told him what was happening. But he had a game today. That's important. When you're 14, that's important. When I was 14, I didn't care because I had stuff going on. Because I'm 14. That's what 14-year-olds should care about. You should know what's going on. But at the same time, you should do your thing. And they lost in the shootouts. Super Bomb championship. He was pretty sad. But I said, dude, imagine where you were a year or so ago. You were on a team that sucked, and now your team got to the championship, and, you lost. But still.
That's always going to sting, though, when you get there and come in second place.
Super, super stings. Especially when you're that close. Especially when you played the team yesterday and you thumped them. I told him, if you guys would have lost yesterday and you lost today, it wouldn't feel as bad. But because you beat them. But I talked about how big the crowd was, just online and everywhere, because football's still king. Tonight, championship, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I want to see what that looks like. Yesterday, ratings were huge, but the Kansas City game, Texans, so 35 million people watched that, streamed that. Think about it. That's insane.
So what was the attraction, just to see if the Chiefs were going to finish 16-2?
No, it's just because football's king, man. It's just nothing. It's because Taylor Swift was there.
Well, I mean, certainly the Chiefs, even without her, they're sort of riding high right now.
Of course,
but
it's football.
Yeah,
I mean that's what it is. It is, that movie Concussion that came out a few years ago when they said that they wanted to take on the NFL. The guy said they own a day of the week. They do. I mean, they own a day of the week. And football's gotten itself to the point where it is so powerful that during other times of the year when you think baseball and the NBA and everything else should have a free roam, they don't, because free agency has made football something people pay attention to. All of this stuff has made it so that it's always on them.
Do you think that this has been largely a marketing success for the NFL, or do you think that baseball really screwed up with saving their place as first in line?
Baseball, well, I think first, baseball changed because it became too slow. Kids wanted faster and faster. That's why the NBA exploded. But I think football's big thing was fantasy football. Fantasy football and Madden changed everything because people wanted to play fantasy football, even though they have fantasy baseball, and they like watching it. But on the other side of it, Madden changed a lot. The reason they have cameras above the field and follow around is Madden. People wanted to watch that. They find it fascinating. It is. Now it's in every sport. They wanted to see the up above. And in fact, I believe there's going to be a Madden playoff game, but there already hasn't been one, where everything's going to be above in ways we've never seen it. But baseball gave itself up. And baseball also became something that the NFL isn't. The NFL is global. The NFL is obviously national. But baseball's regional. If you live in L.A., you got the Dodgers regional. People aren't watching the Dodgers if they live in Minnesota, right? They're not even really watching the Twins. St. Louis, it's very regional. Where if you are in the middle of the country, you're probably not paying that much attention to certain things. But you will watch a football game. You will. And so it's interesting to see the way that this thing's shaping itself out because everybody says, football, well, it's going to slow down at some point in time. It's not. I think what's going to happen is, for all those of you out there who hate soccer, is the Premier League is changing everything globally as well, including here in America, because I hear from several of you at times as well. How much I watch the Premier League. So, there are things that are just dominant, and those are the ones that dominate. And the numbers say so. What did we say last year? 75 of the top 100 shows. 75 of the top 100 shows, sports.
That's why they battle for sports when it comes to money. Coming up, more on Trump's big day. The parade has been moved indoors because of the cold. We'll talk a little bit about that. A bunch of other stuff as well. It is the Chad Benson Show. Super Talk 99.7.
2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we might be in the deep freeze for an extended period of time this week. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Chuck Sievertson. Action, but first lunch. A slew of executive orders expected after President Trump and VP Vance were sworn in. They're at the traditional Congressional Inauguration Day lunch at the Capitol now. A little earlier, talking to supporters.
I wish we could have had a better relationship. I wish we could have had a better relationship between Republicans and Democrats. I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense.
Mr. Trump is expected to commute the prison sentences of hundreds of his supporters convicted of violent attacks against law enforcement on January 6, 2021. Say sources familiar to ABC News. As the Justice Department awaits the confirmation of the Trump pick for Attorney General Pam Bondi, a longtime career attorney who has primarily worked on immigration-related issues at the DOJ, has been named acting Attorney General, named James McHenry.
President Trump will be dealing with the ongoing wildfire disaster in Los Angeles. Alex Stone says another PDS red flag warning has been issued.
Dire warnings are being given here for the winds that will blow tonight into Tuesday. James White at the National Weather Service.
You could see gusts of 70 to 80 miles an hour.
They're expected to be widespread and extremely dry. The relative humidity down to 2%. People across Southern California are being told to have go bags ready in case of wildfires.
And right now in Middle Tennessee, 2 missing East Tennessee girls ages 12 and 13 have been found with a 21-year-old man in Nashville. Metro Nashville police say they arrested 21-year-old Isaac Shellsmith, who allegedly drove the girls to his home here in Music City and allegedly had sex with the 13-year-old. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Wellness Institute of Nashville. I'm telling you guys, it's me, Chad Benson. I want you to understand how good this is, all right? First of all, you got my seal of approval. They're amazing. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, going to take care of you. But in honor of this guy, the 47th president, who became the 47th president today, they've got 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression. It's the big 47 offer. Let me tell you something. Spinal decompression, it's non-surgical, all right? The machine is incredible. What it does for you, how it stretches you, how it does its thing, it's incredible. And I'm telling you guys, do not mess with the back, all right? Do not mess with the back. They're ready to help you. During the consultation, you're getting an exam, boom, x-rays included if needed. And if you got an MRI or something like that, bring it. Dr. Mitchell is ready to help you. They're going to go over your condition, and they're going to put a plan together. That's what matters. It is the big 47% off right now to celebrate the 47th president. If you want more information and to book your appointment today, call 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com.
My Pillow is ready to help you get a great night's sleep. We do. Man, I tell you what, their stuff is amazing. It's incredible. Made here in the United States of America. Right now, you go to mypillow.com/Benson. Use the promo code Benson, and you get tons of discounts. The entire classic My Pillow collection. Standard Classic Queen, just $14.88. The king size, $19.88. Waffle blankets, My Pillow quilt, you name it, they've got it all. 10-year warranty, which is awesome. And you get 6-day money-back guarantee. Here's the other thing. So the waffle blanket, right? It's got Giza cotton, provides the ultimate softness and warmth, which is great. Now, the My Pillow quilt, right? You get tons of colors to choose from, which is amazing. But it's not overly hot. So if you're maybe looking for something a little cooler, boom, made from 100% upland cotton. It is awesome. So if you're saying to yourself, all right, Chad, tell me more. Go right now, save big when it comes to your sleep and your comfort. And MyPillow is going to deliver that to you. Go to mypillow.com/Benson. That is mypillow.com/Benson. Right now, mypillow.com/Benson. I'm just rocking out here, dude. I like that. That's a good song. Who wrote it? Not you, Bell, or me. Somebody else. Probably a machine. Probably a machine.
It was a machine.
You machines.
I wish we could have had a better relationship. I wish we could have had a better relationship between Republicans and Democrats. I was with Senator Schumer. I said, Chuck, I think it's time we all start getting along a little bit because it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But with the situation the way it is, we're a very divided nation. And we distrust so much. And I don't think that's going to change. What changes things is winning. That's what changes things. If you win, meaning things are rocking and rolling, the economy's good, we get immigration down, there's no real chaos going on in the world, and that changes a lot of things. But you got to understand, defense and offense are two separate things. If you're a politician, being on offense now is what the Democrats are. You got to come hard in every way, shape, or form. And it's sad that's what has to happen if things are going great, that you've got to find anything to go after Trump for, but you're going to. And it's the other way around if the Democrats were in charge, because your goal is to be the party in charge, obviously. But, listening today is a perfect example of the insanity that the left has and their obsession, A, with race, but with Trump.
You guys, I have to say, I'm looking at this crowd. I do not see many people of color. Does anybody else besides me observe that? I'm fascinated by why that is.
On Martin Luther King Jr. Day, the most notable and one of the most high-ranking is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, first black woman to serve on the U.S. Supreme Court, notably appointed by Joe Biden as he wanted to follow in the footsteps of Jimmy Carter in appointing a number of women and black women to the federal judgeships.
General Brown, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, is probably there. In fact, that might be the side of his head. No, because he's, I can't tell what uniform that is. I can't tell from this. But he was undoubtedly there.
Yeah, I saw Jim Clyburn. I saw him.
Clarence Thomas was there. You guys have mentioned him. Oh, he's different, right? Like, because he supports the conservatives. So he's different. The obsession with race continues. The obsession with this insanity that they push continues. But that's part of, unfortunately, the game that's played. Because we're not interested in information. Because if we are, we would only want the people on television to give us information, not their opinion. But that doesn't happen anymore. Now it is all opinion, period. That's it. Because that's what gets likes, that's what gets clicks, that's what gets those people paid. If you like something, you share something, you subscribe to something, that ups my worth and gets me paid. Joy Reid, always angry, never happy. How she still has a job, I don't know. But I will tell you this. Thank God she does, because she's so awful. She's fun. Talking about, yes, kids, the big, giant, huge raids that are about to happen.
Except
that the promise of the incoming administration is to wipe away the civic memory of Washington, to get rid of and to fire all of the people who normally transition as civil servants from one administration to the next. The promises on the table are 200 some odd executive actions, an attempt to get rid of birthright citizenship, an attempt to do mass deportation, which we thought was being threatened on the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago.
Which, by the way, from what I understand, it's a decent possibility that in the next 24, 48 hours, we're going to see raids like we have never seen before, going after people that I want to remind you should not be here. Now, let's talk quickly about who shouldn't be here, who's at risk. If you've come through a port, you've gotten paroled into the country, which means you're awaiting your hearing. You're not going anywhere unless you committed a crime. Okay? If you have come into this country, you've gone through the system, not once, not twice, but 3 times through all your hearings, you've got an order to be removed. If you get caught, you're gone. If you've done none of those things and you snuck into the country, you're in trouble. The person down the street that babysits the little lady down the street who is cleaning people's houses, that person, they're not after them. They're going to get the quote-unquote low-hanging fruit early and fast, which is what they should be doing. The criminals that are sitting in jail, absolutely. With a removal, by the way, ICE, a federal agency saying, hey, you've got somebody, this person, we need, bad person, gangster, killer, whatever it is, we need them. They've got an order to be removed. And these cities, San Francisco, San Diego, et cetera, they're going to do everything they can, Illinois, Chicago, to protect Brandon Johnson. We're going to protect everybody. No, that's not even remotely what your constituents want. Continue, Joy and everybody else.
Apparently, which said, yeah, you can't come here and do that, and maybe they backed down. We're talking about an attempt to portray this peaceful transition of power with people who were convicted in the insurrection attempt attending, with the person who fomented the coup being sworn in as president, essentially a delay in the completion of the insurrection. The idea that the institutions will hold, we just had a content of their character election.
Again, the insanity that is being pushed. Got to go back to January 6th. It's an insurrection. You know what it was? It was asinine by a lot of people. People got caught up in the moment. Some of them wandered into a place they shouldn't have been. That's on them. They're going to be pardoned. Great. I still say if you attack the cop, you're in trouble. And you should be. If you did, absolutely. If you had plans that you were trying to actually conceive to try to do something there that were real, not just like, well, we thought we'd come here. No. A vast majority of those people didn't fight cops. They wandered in. They stayed within the velvet rope. If you're going to have a coup and you can get, I can't get my dog to stop barking at any noise, but somehow magically we managed to keep an insurrection for the most part through a velvet rope. I find that fascinating, but that's where they go back to. You lost. That's it. You learn to deal with it and move on with it. But division is a business. And the more that people realize that, somebody asked earlier, how do we get along with fascists? And they're talking about the Bidens of the world and all this stuff. We need to separate politicians and cable news people who want to push insanity. Right? Politicians, it's their job, and they don't buy 90% of the crap that they're shoveling. For cable news world, it's their job because, as we said earlier, the clicks, the likes, all of that stuff, that's how they get paid. The views, the shares. But we need to separate them from the average person who is your neighbor, who's pro-choice, right? Maybe they're pro-gay marriage, but they're good people.
Or maybe you've moved somewhere and you're like, oh my God, this is a very red area, but it's affordable. We can come here, and you think that everybody around you is a Nazi because they've got a Trump flag. Then you find out, oh my God, they're just real people who are kind and nice. So we need to separate that. But remember, so much of this is on us because we put ourselves in positions where we demand entertainment, we demand division, we demand arguing and fighting because we need to be entertained, and that is frustrating. It really is. Very frustrating. Earlier today, Biden pardoned pretty much the rest of America. What were we at? 8,046? Is that where we're at?
I believe it was 8,064.
64. Including his family, going back to 2014.
And just for context, Obama during his administration had just over 1,000, just under 2,000 pardons. Trump on his first term had 237, and George W. during his 2 terms had 200.
Yeah, see, not a lot. But he's went out and pardoned a whole bunch of folks preemptively, including Fauci, which I think is kind of interesting because the Fauci thing, now if they call him up, he can't plead the fifth anymore. So he can't incriminate himself, all that. No, he can't plead the fifth. You've got nothing to worry about. So whatever you say here stays here. As far as it's not going to follow you to get you in another crime or any of that stuff, you're done. So what do you have to say? But one of the things I said earlier is I think it did Trump a service because of this. It's taken a bit of the stress off of going and chasing people and this whole thing. You know what? You've pardoned these people. We're moving on with our lives. Whatever comes out in the wash, and there will be stuff eventually, but it doesn't need to be the focus. The focus for Trump is you've got 100 days to rock and roll. And you get out there through executive actions, through executive orders, and through eventually passing some damn bills, get this stuff going. So you will continue to have momentum heading into that first year where you don't have to worry about midterms all of a sudden flopping over and the well, we're going to hold our seats maybe becomes a blue wave. You don't want that because then you know what happens after that. It's uncomfortable, as we all know, but then you would lose the House and the Senate, and then what are you looking at? 2 years as a lame duck already because you're out, but also 2 years where you've got the party that's come after you on numerous occasions potentially coming after you again. So we'll see. Definitely. We'll wrap it up straight ahead. Oh, my goodness me. I see Matt is here. Matt's got a ponytail. Holy guacamole. We'll talk about what's going on with the ponytail, if he's going to cut his hair, a bunch of other stuff straight ahead. It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
You guys might not recognize if you can see him right now. He's got not the man bun.
No. Man bun would be horrible.
What's the deal with the hair? Do we have any idea? Have we made a decision?
We have to figure it out, and we'll talk about it at some point today or tomorrow or this week, but we have to figure out what we're going to do. And several people have reached out and said, hey, I've been growing out my hair for one reason or another, but I'm kind of coalescing behind you on the whole Locks for Trump thing. Could we perhaps find some barbershop? I mean, I think we can figure out something to do for charity, like give it to the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project or Men of Valor, some organization that is worthy. But we're going to figure something out because I promise you, it's not going to be this length for very much longer.
No, you're not liking it.
Well, I just don't like it getting in my my mouth.
What's the lady think?
You get used to it.
That's what Belle says. That's what she said. Not that big a fan, I don't think.
Okay.
I actually like it longer. This is way too much time on my hair, but I actually like it longer, but I think it needs to look intentional.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I mean, right now it just looks.
This was just a throwaway. This was an idea.
Homeless chic is what I got going.
I like that too. I became a vest guy. I like the vest. All right, I became a vest guy.
I dig it. Oh, absolutely. You're not in zone anymore.
No.
It's cold over here.
Vest guys are great too. Vest is it's the fat guy's helper, along with the beard. Right, the beard is the last gasp of trying to look thinner.
That's exactly right. Middle-aged fat guy uniform is that where you don't have to wear fancy clothes, beard. Yeah. So no double chin. This is all beard. That's no chin. That's beard. And then,
the vest is great.
It's like, I look put together. What are you talking about?
I saw Dom DeLuise on the Merv Griffin show one time, and he had grown a beard, and Merv was like, wow, you look really different. What's the beard for? He goes, fat. Cover the fat.
That's right. Spectacular.
That's right.
I don't even know it for you. I'll be honest with you. I wish you all the best because this is just it's a long day of talking about this.
I know. Listen, I can help you, though, because I'm with you on the matters of pomp and circumstance, but I recognize that these are things that hold our civilized society together, Chad Benson. Funerals and weddings and ceremonies such as, the peaceful transfer of power.
Which I always tell everybody, this is as much about the rest of the world showing that we are passing off, the most powerful person is passing off his power to somebody else. And that's great, but I'm not a pomp and circumstance guy.
I get it, but there's also some really important things happening, and I think it's symbolic, and we'll talk about this at the beginning of the show. I mean, it is very symbolic of a lot of Americans, millions and millions of Americans, feel like something was unfairly taken from them in 2020, and they came to peace with that, but this is a return to them of the natural order of things, and some of the things that Donald Trump is planning on doing on day one. I mean, he's hitting the ground running. I mean, this is a guy that learned from his first. Brian Wilson said something earlier on your show, and I thought it was spot on. I think Donald Trump is going to be a better second-term president because he had a 4-year gap.
Oh yeah.
Now he only has 18 months.
Yeah. Brian thinks he only has 6 months. If he doesn't really do the things he needs to do, that it's going to start to go sideways for him in 6 months.
But by 18 months, everything's on for Congress. Democrats are going to be trying to take Congress over, whatever. So, and then you're a lame duck. So you better do it quick. And I think he recognizes that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But yeah, I'm all for the parade where like Donald Trump is like Henry VIII and he's got a chicken leg and they're all running in front of him. And the court justice. Yeah. What?
That's the only kind of. I keep saying, I'm not a big parade fan. I think they're silly, and I think that I want to do a parade where everybody stays in the same spot and you just walk by them. So the band stays there, they play, you just walk by them. So that way
you're much less likely to get me to a parade.
That's called a county fair.
Yeah,
Chad. That's what that's called. That's called a county fair.
So
that's what that is.
Well, that's fun. I mean, it's white trash art gallery.
I love it.
The county fairs.
Look, I used to make a lot of money at county fairs when I was a kid.
Oh, did you?
Eating goldfish.
Oh, look at you, man.
Oh, no, you stay beside, the little goldfish thing where you throw the ping pong balls? I did this when I was 14, 15, 16. You just stay by there and you let them know. And eventually he'll eat the goldfish for $5.
Look at the way that works.
Oh,
there.
Whatever, man.
He'll do
Delicious.
it now for you kids.
Oh,
He's eating goldfish with Trump straight ahead.
Venmo me $20. I had a goldfish.
Matt Murphy, straight ahead. You guys have a great day. We'll do it again tomorrow. Super Talk 99.7.